What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. We have officially reached, Bruce, the NFL playoffs, man. The regular season is now behind us. 18 weeks gone in a flash, like that. But playoff picture's set now. We got some good matchups.
How did we do on our playoff prediction show?
You know what? I got to go back and check. I don't even know. But
I know.
Actually, you got the Texans in.
Yeah,
I had the Colts in. So you already got me on one of them. And did either of us...
That's the only reason why I brought it up, by the way. Let's see, like, I don't give a shit about any of the other stuff.
We got both of the... you had Vikings, I had Saints. Neither got in.
both was a fucking horrible...
Who was the one?
Didn't go on the card, though.
It was the Packers that got it. They got this one.
Yeah.
So we both had the Bears winning. That's why. But I think... did either of us have the Steelers get... I think
we both had the Steelers winning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we did all right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only a set amount of scenarios that can happen there. So
listen, straight up, happiest moment of my season was seeing Arthur Smith
get fired because you had Bijan in fantasy.
I had Bijan in fantasy, dude. Drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always do that.
Well,
I'm always like, I guess I'm always just risk on. When it comes to fantasy, it's like we do these. Like I also picked up Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round one year, which was a disaster.
Right. But the Bijan pick makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean he was great in college. They just didn't really use him. Listen, maybe just double dip next year. Someone's going to come in and make him very good. I think.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Who is it going to be?
I don't know whoever this
is.
We were arguing with this about in our group chat the other day. I thought Mike Vrabel would be a good fit.
Yeah.
But a lot of people seem to, everyone was arguing with me in the chat, like, nah.
No, I was literally
because he's a defensive coach.
I was literally just going to say Mike Vrabel.
I mean.
It's like, you get one of the better offensive lines in the league.
Yeah.
And you get.
That's what I'm saying.
You get
Smash mouth coach, a rah-rah guy, motivator guy.
Right. You get one of the best running backs.
Who had a great running back. I mean, they never, they got to an AFC championship game.
A mid quarterback. This is perfect.
It works out perfectly.
This works out perfect for them.
But if they can now the Pats position is open, which is crazy. Saban, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll.
You think Saban would do it?
No, I'm just saying that they all left. They've all left.
Oh yeah, but I thought you were putting Saban
no.
in.
I'm just saying it's crazy that all these coaches have left. But the Pats, but what I'm saying is I think it complicates the Vrabel opening.
For sure, because why wouldn't Vrabel want to go home to New England?
That's like a perfect fit. So then who do the...
That's a 2-year job.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're the Falcons, I don't know. I mean, you can go get Brandon Staley and go for it on every fourth down. fourth and 5 on your own 20.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay.
But playoffs are set. It should be interesting, and we've got some good matchups. And I wanted to start with what's everyone going to try to do now? Now that the bracket's set, they're going to try to predict a Super Bowl winner.
Yeah, who's going to win?
There's futures. We will definitely have some futures released before Saturday. But what if I told you
that we have a math equation
that you can actually use some data here to predict who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And this is actually accurate, a surprising amount. You're going to be stunned when I tell you the percentages of how often these things happen. It's crazy. So, and by the way, the beauty of it for the show, it narrows it down to just one team. So by the end of this, you're going to be able to go bet on this one team to win the Super Bowl.
And you're not going to feel good about it. You're not going to like it.
And it's not the team you think. Yeah, exactly. It is not the team you think it is. So, all right, there is a way to predict the Super Bowl, though, with looking at some shared statistics, right? So if we go back out of all the Super Bowl winners and we look at what do they all share in common, so we find that 85% of all Super Bowl winners have won 11 or more games during the regular season. Most teams in the playoffs have done that, but we do have 5 teams this year that won 10 or 9 games, did not get to 11. And this is key, 85%. Remember, this puts them 85%. This knocks them out. So it's not 100%, but it's pretty high. You got the Packers won 9 games. The Texans won 10 games. The Buccaneers won 9. The Rams won 10. And the Steelers won 10. So right away...
The Steelers winning 10
is insanity.
My mind every time.
He's
Mike Tomlin,
such a good coach.
He gets to retire there. He gets to stay as long as he wants.
He does. He's so good. It's unreal. With literally nothing. Just literally nothing. What was their win total? I think it was 6.5. They won 10 games. Or maybe it was higher than that. It might have been 7.5. But anyway, those 5 teams. So you got Packers, Texans, Bucks, Rams, Steelers. Now remember, we're going to knock those out. It doesn't mean those teams can't win. But, I mean, first of all, you just look at the teams. I don't think anybody thinks that any of them are going to win.
Right.
But just statistically, they have a very small chance. Now, we get to some of the upper echelon teams, the real big dogs here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So remember, 5 are gone. That means we have, 9 left, right? Because there's 14 teams. So we're now going to look at this. 80% of all Super Bowl winners have had a top 10 offense and defense in terms of scoring. Mm-hmm. So we're just talking points per game and then points per game allowed.
Yep.
In the top 10 in both. Now, most of them do have it, but now we get to knock out another 5 teams, right? The Dolphins. The Dolphins are second in points per game. They score 29 points per game, but they are not in the top 10 in terms of points per game allowed. So they're out. The Chiefs. The Chiefs are actually second in points per game allowed. Surprising, right? 17.3. One of the second best, one of the top 5 defenses in the league, but they're not in the top 10 in scoring, which is crazy to think about. Crazy that the Chiefs are not there.
When you think about the personality of that team,
unbelievable.
You don't say, "Oh, this is one of the best," defensive scoring units in the league, and one of the middling offenses.
And it's crazy that the 10th team in terms of scoring is Indy at 20.
Because they don't have Sammy Watkins. They don't have Sammy Watkins
at 23 points per game.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at that number, it's like, damn, the Chiefs are not scoring 23 points a game.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. So that actually eliminates the Chiefs. I know some of you are surprised by that. The third one is the Eagles. The Eagles put up 25 a game, but their defense is horrible.
Listen, that team going into the playoffs.
Eagles?
Yeah.
Oh, they're in trouble.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Unfortunately.
They look like they don't even want to be there.
Yeah,
so
it's a bad situation.
It's not
gotten
right.
much worse.
There has to be something going on internal. That's not all on the field.
So. No, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. And have you seen there's been like now a lot of talking heads coming out, or like internal rumors from like players and stuff saying that like if you know football or coaches, if you watch the game, you can call out almost every play. They're saying that they're just they've become very predictable.
Yeah.
And that's the NFL. You can't. That's like the worst thing you could be is predictable.
The best meme that I saw, we got put it up on the screen, was like when Jalen Hurts isn't getting push 99 yards into the end zone, and it's a picture of Charlie Ward. We need to pull that one up.
Oh, we gotta put that. Yeah, you gotta send that to me.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know. It's tough because they were so good last year, and they were 10-1 this year.
Incredible.
So really, really rough finish. I mean,
we cursed them, by the way.
Yeah, you think so?
From the
we were talking about
from the pod where we said that they looked like the Vikings last year.
Yes, it suddenly happened. Yeah.
They
5 out of 6,
spiraled out of control.
Literally.
So,
and by the way, we took advantage.
We did.
Arizona plus 520. And then the Giants plus 180.
Easy
money.
He
said easy, the 520. I was sweating that 520. I was dying with that 520. When they were coming down, they tied the game. Did you watch? Did you see that?
Yeah.
When they came on the last drive, I was like, we're really going to win this. I did not expect it to cash, but it did. So yeah, the Eagles are out because they don't have a top 10 defense. And then the Browns have a top 10 defense, but not offense. But I will note, I believe, I have the top 10 here, but I'm pretty sure when I checked, they were 11 on the list in scoring. So the Browns are just out, but they're right there. And I like almost to the point where I would say I don't really knock them out.
Now, can I interest you in week 13 on these stats?
That's true. With Flacco, much different story.
Right.
So very, very fair point. Yes.
So
yes,
we'll put them out, but I don't trust the numbers.
That's probably why they're right there.
Right.
Because they picked it up big time.
Right.
30 points every freaking week.
Yeah. If we do week 13 on, I think that's a very different team. So that's sneaky. That's sneaky.
Yeah, they're right there.
And I need to keep my Browns pick alive.
Gotcha.
Because that's what I want to see.
But
yeah, I hear you. All right, let's
so
move
the Browns are right on the bubble. And then the last one is Detroit. They're firmly out because of their defense. So Detroit's 5th in scoring, but they're way down in points per game allowed. So we're knocking out, for the purposes of this exercise, Dolphins, Chiefs, Eagles, Browns, Lions, all gone. You're out. You're all out. So
Browns are in still. Browns are still in.
So now this last one, this is the third stat.
Yeah.
We had an 85%er and 80%er. I had to dig deep for this one because I'm like, there's 4 teams left. That's too many to like sprinkle each one.
Right. And it's kind of like, okay.
You could, but yeah. But
you can kind of get there without stats.
Right, exactly, because it's the 4 best team. Yeah.
You're telling me that San Francisco, Buffalo, Baltimore, and the Cowboys are the best shot? It's like, yeah, okay.
Like, we know that, but we're trying to get sharp, razor sharp here.
Yeah.
So 90% and the Browns. Yeah. 90% of all Super Bowl winners, this one blew my mind, have had a head coach in their first 5 years with the team. Now, this one's tricky because most head coaches don't even make it 5 years.
Right.
So that could be partly why the stat's a little bit skewed.
Yeah.
It's like, well, most coaches, if it doesn't work, they're just gone within 3 to 5 years.
Right.
So that a lot of them don't get the chance to win one after 5 years.
Yep.
But the bottom line is the stat is, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Coaches that stay very long places tend to overstay their welcome, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But surprisingly, there are 3 out of the 4 teams that have a coach that have been there for more than 5 years, and that's the Niners, the Bills, and the Ravens, with McDermott, with Shanahan, and with Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got Dallas
Cowboys
and Mike McCarthy are the only team. If you follow this data, which there's other stats you can look at, but these were the highest ones I found: 85%, 80%, and 90% trends. If you follow these, the future's bet is the Cowboys plus 750 to win it all.
Which is only cool if you're a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I don't want to take that.
It's
because I got to see them win, and they got to go to San Francisco and win.
Right.
So
and then they got to go to where's the Super Bowl being played this year?
Good question.
I forgot, but it's gonna be a neutral field. I think.
Yeah.
So,
but I would argue that that's not even as bad as going to San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, if you think neutral field, there's likely going to be a lot of Cowboys.
You'll have a lot
there,
of fans. Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
So for a Super Bowl,
I mean the first game they have against the Packers, I think they'll win.
Yeah.
But that's not. I'm not gonna say that's a gimme.
No, but it's Jordan Love.
Yeah.
First start in the playoffs. Like he turned the ball over quite a bit this year. I mean, he threw a lot of touchdowns.
He picked it up at the end.
Yeah.
30 touchdowns, dude.
Incredible.
Crazy. He really picked it up at the end, though. I mean, I got to see how that defense, like going into Dallas trying to stop their passing game, though. It's rough.
A lot.
It's rough.
A lot.
And they could throw Jair on CeeDee Lamb, and other guys get open. It's just too much at a certain point.
CeeDee Lamb has been
so good,
going berserk.
Yeah, he's nuts.
He's been going berserk.
He's so good. And if there was, I know like Pollard's had like a disappointing year, kind of. But if there's ever been a game, like Green Bay has one of the worst rushing defenses. They're good against the pass, but if there's ever a game where you can get it going,
for sure,
this is the matchup at home against Green Bay.
You know, like we said last week, rushing games can surprise people in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Some rushing games just come on in the playoffs. We saw Isaiah Pacheco go bananas last year, and really put the team on his back in spots.
Yeah.
So you have these heroes that you wouldn't, if you went in and you're like, okay, yeah, the Chiefs are gonna have huge games or just huge outputs from Isaiah Pacheco, like you wouldn't have been like, that's my storyline.
Exactly.
For how they do this, right?
Yes,
so
right.
The playoffs are surprising. So
and who was it? Was it Damian Williams in the first Super Bowl they won?
Yeah.
Right? Him too. Had a great
Right.
So it just comes out of nowhere. You're right.
Yeah.
You're totally right about that. So hey, if you wanna sprinkle a future out there,
if you wanna feel icky,
you got some value on the Cowboys plus 750 according to this. Now there's the Niners I think are favorites right now, and the Ravens are second. The Niners are 350. The Ravens are 400 or something like that. So the Cowboys I think are, and then it's Buffalo and then it's Dallas. So I think they're the fourth option in terms of the odds in the market.
Or do the Browns.
But it's I listen. I think so I think Buffalo's going to be there, but I totally could see that. I could see the Browns going to, but you know that the Browns are going to have to. So your Browns path is a little bit different than my Buffalo path.
Yeah.
Because Buffalo gets 2 home games, Browns got to win 2 road games.
The Browns you win road games
with defense.
With defense,
true. Yeah.
But
they got
a hot running game.
Now
and a quarterback.
That
can't miss.
Right. Good. Yeah. I know. No, he's been really good.
I want he
just wants Flacco.
Just stop listening to me at this point of the video because I want to see Joe Flacco.
Yeah. No. Same. I mean, it's an amazing story. It's so cool.
I need that storyline.
Yeah.
The NFL writers were like, damn, that Aaron Rodgers one, I really thought was going to work. What about Joe Flacco?
Yeah, that's what it is.
What if we get him one?
Could we get away with Flacco versus Rudolph in this?
Yeah, what about that?
No, they're both the names.
Yeah,
sorry.
You think they would go for that?
Rudolph. No, I meant who's on the other side of the other one? Oh, shoot, I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, that's
like you think
Flacco would be amazing.
You think we have Joe Flacco turning back the San Francisco 49ers?
That's it right there.
And then going up to Brock Purdy and saying, "Hey kid, you got a bright future.
We'll get there one day."
Year. Yeah, yeah.
Keep grinding.
Tapping him on the back with his neck beard, like, "Don't worry, kid."
Yeah. You'll get there one day.
Don't worry, I'm
Keep
retiring
working.
after this one.
Stay
So,
healthy.
so you
got
you got it next
your
year.
window's opening.
Yeah. That's what I want.
Oh man, yeah, that would be amazing. But yeah, I totally think they're winning in Houston, but they got to go to Baltimore in the divisional round, and then if they beat Baltimore, then assuming the Bills, they got to go to Buffalo. So they got a rough path
I know.
for a team that won 11 games.
Which means that if they do that,
Oh,
I'm gonna be able to get myself a present because that's a lot of plus money.
That is a lot of plus money.
That's a lot of
You
plus
might
money
even-
across the
Yeah,
board.
like that's one of those where you might be better rolling it. Like instead of taking the future, you roll over their money line every game.
Exactly. I was just about to say I'm gonna do a Browns playoff parlay where I'm just
every game.
just rolling all of the dollars won on the Browns
And
over into the Browns.
If they did get, let's say they had that grueling path to get there, and they will probably get the Niners in the Super Bowl. I mean, we just talked about Cowboys, but let's say they got the Niners Super Bowl, they're going to be a sizable, like what, a 4 or 5 point dog?
Yeah.
You're going to get like plus 180 on them in that game in the Super Bowl on that defense. And by the way, they beat the Niners this year, so
Listen.
interesting
Listen.
stuff.
This is where I'm hanging my hat. This is where I can gloat through at least a couple weeks of the NBA season. So I'm gonna hold on to this one. But
Cool.
according to the stats,
Yeah, Cowboys. So that's if you're interested, Cowboys plus 750. Not necessarily our picks, but I thought that was just an interesting thing to start off with because you don't normally see that. I mean, you can go back and look every single year. The winner falls into these three categories, and there's only one team this year that falls into these three categories. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Usually there's multiple
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, let's get into round one. So
Yes, sir.
round one, what is the
Yeah, we should
best
give out
bet.
a best bet, right? Because this is our last show before the playoffs start.
Mhm.
So we'll have some stuff posted. I'll probably have some more. I'd have a systems video coming on TikTok and Instagram, which we'll post for the wildcard round. I'm gonna do a video with some referee trends.
Yep.
I'm expecting a call from Roger, and
Good.
And then so this will be the last pod before the playoffs. So I did want to give out a best bet, and I'm looking at the Monday night game. So the Monday night game is the Eagles and the Buccaneers, and I'm going to actually look at this under. It's sitting at 45 right now, right? And I know everyone's going to expect, well, the Eagles' defense has been total dog shit. The Bucs are just going to roll all over them. But did you see the Bucs in the last week of the year? They got in, but they didn't score a single touchdown. And we had the Panthers plus 4.5. What better way to lose than 9-0?
Yeah.
They get one touchdown. And both touchdowns that they scored got taken away. Did you see the one on the penalty, then one on he fumbled it into the end zone? So, okay, anyway, aside from the bad beat with the Panthers, they're not one of the elite offenses in the league. They're not top 10 on that list that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Baker's also clearly hurt. Saw him clutching his ribs. He's not going to be 100%. All right, and if you're ever, like, I know we can say this every week with the Eagles. Like, you say that last week, they get torched by the Giants. You said the week before, they get torched but this is the beginning of the playoffs. If there's ever a time, the defense has got to figure something out.
They got to show up.
Got to figure something out in this game.
And that Eagles front seven was
elite last year.
Elite.
So good.
You know?
Yeah.
And they added to it. I know there's there's injuries there, but
yeah, I mean but this to me feels like a matchup where the game slows down. Both of these teams are like decent in the trenches, right? The offensive lines are good, so you're not going to see too many sacks, like strip sacks, turnovers. Like you always want to look for if you want to bet under, right? You want to look for teams that can run the ball. Tampa can run it a little bit. Philly's going to have to try to run it, whether it's designed runs for Hurts or something. Get Swift going. They got to do something. And this number here is kind of a little cushion because 43. Remember, guys, we talked about totals in the other video I posted about the trends. 42 to 43, and then 47 to 48. Those are your key ranges for totals.
Mm-hmm.
So getting this above 43, you're kind of like in this dead zone at 45, where if it's 23-20 game, 24-20, you cash both. And those are common scores. So getting the 45, I think, is a nice little edge. So I like Philly Tampa under 45 as my best bet, and then I'll give you a stat to back it up. So this is considered a prime time. All these games are standalone games, but the night games, for the purposes of the prime time system, prime time unders, it only looks at night games.
Yep.
So you could have, some of these games are gonna be like 3 Eastern or whatever, and it's the only game on, but it's not technically considered for the system prime time unders. But prime time unders are 63% this season. This is considered a primetime under. The other thing, primetime unders in the wild card round overall, last 10 years are 65%, and they're on a crazy run when it's an outdoor, non-divisional game, which is kind of counterintuitive, right? Because you expect the divisional games to be more
Right.
grinded out, slow. But outdoor non-divisional games in prime time in the wild card rounds. Now we're digging. Now we're getting really gritty.
Yeah. I was like,
The last 38.
the circle's getting small.
Yeah, the last 38. They're 29-9 to the under.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very big trend right there.
I mean, you ever try to catch football?
Yeah.
With lights on you?
Yeah, that's right. And it's
not
I'm
good.
not sure about the weather. Well, then it's in Tampa. It's not going to be that cold, I don't think, right?
No.
We're thinking about the weather, but either way, I think this game has the script, like the game script for an under. I think the matchup tends to the under, and all the data is telling you to go under. And you've got two struggling offenses,
right?
You know? Like I think there's a much better chance that because defense is effort, right? Like, I think there's a much better chance that Philly figures it out on defense before they figure it out on offense.
Yep.
So that's my bet in this game. I like the under 45.
I would go with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good number.
Yeah. I've looked at some of the other games, but that to me, so far, that's my strongest lean. That'll probably be a play for us, unless the line moves drastically, which I don't expect it to. But it'll probably be a play for us.
I like it.
On Monday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we've been splitting some of the over-unders in the past couple weeks, but
the overs
one that I would be on.
Overs have come back a little bit.
Yeah.
But remember you know what's crazy too? One of the pods we did, you're right. We were talking about the Philly being Minnesota. Then we talked about how the totals are dramatically low, the numbers, and then all the overs start hitting.
Right.
And now though, you got the numbers are coming back up a little bit.
Right.
So now you enter the playoffs, perfect timing. Go hit those unders.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like
especially that by the way, that outdoor non-divisional system I talked about also applies to the Chiefs-Dolphins game. So a little tidbit for you guys. Bonus if you're watching. It applies to the Chiefs-Dolphins game. I don't remember what the total is off the top of my head. But that's outdoor, and that game's going to be like 5 degrees. So, you know that, right? That game's going to be like less single digits. And there's a stat out there going around which made me a little... You know when you see... sorry, I'm rambling. But you know when you see like everyone up on something and now you don't want to do it anymore? You know?
Of course.
So it's like not cool anymore.
You're like, oh, I listened to them before they were popular.
Exactly, bingo. So the Dolphins thing about the cold weather, I think it's like Tua's like 0-11 in single digit, but now it's like everyone's talking about it post-game, and I like watch them win.
Yeah,
He's gonna win.
What? He's gonna go in there
He's gonna ball
with
out.
the thermal tech, Uniqlo.
So warm.
He's gonna be so
win.
toasty. He's gonna be so toasty.
All right, so that's the wild card stuff, and I know you're excited because UFC's finally back. Dude, we went. Was it 2 or 3? It was 3 weeks or 2 weeks without UFC.
We went like 3 weeks
without UFC.
Without
it's
it.
back this weekend. And so we have is this a fight? Is it a Vegas card this weekend?
I think it's a Vegas card.
And then the pay-per-view next week, which will have stuff coming up.
I stopped paying attention. So for a while in the UFC, we were getting some really good leans based on the size of the octagon.
Yeah.
Because when COVID hit, they went to Vegas and they made their own ring, but they made the ring like 40% smaller than the traditional UFC ring.
I remember that, yeah.
So essentially, you take like 3 steps back and you're hitting the cage.
Yeah.
So it favored wrestlers because strikers couldn't really dance around and they didn't have a lot of like maneuver time.
Right.
It also increased the rate of finishes dramatically. Because there was less room for you to dance around. You were kind of in like a telephone
trapped
booth.
on the cage.
Right.
Stuff, yeah.
And a lot of fighters actually weren't used to it. Right. So it really changed the difference between like the size of the ring and the outcomes. Like those splits were way different, but it's normalized now. So I really don't care where it is anymore.
Gotcha. Okay.
But before it was a big deal.
That's interesting
it was like,
though. Yeah.
Is it in Vegas or is it in T-Mobile?
Yeah.
It's like a difference of like 40% ring size.
Wow.
And that changes all the matchups,
And
right?
as a gambler, you wouldn't even know that if you didn't look for it.
Oh,
you get screwed so hard.
But if you were here,
Well, if you watch us, you'll
we
know.
were
Yeah.
killing it
Exactly.
with the ring splits.
Yes, that's
but
right.
but like Jeff says, not all angles last forever.
True.
And those
True.
ring split angles are basically normalized at this point, so
Gotcha.
we don't use them. But we do have 2 fights that
Let's
I want
go.
to talk about today. One is a retread. If you were watching the podcast, there's only a couple hundred of you right now. You got this at a better line than you did than you will now.
Yeah.
But 2 great fights. So the first one that we'll talk about is the retread, where we have Phil Hawes versus Bruno Ferreira.
Yes.
Bruno Ferreira minus 140.
You called the line movement. You called it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was a slight dog or even money when we did this a couple of weeks ago. I said, hey, this line is going to go up. This line actually started going up in the last day. It's an undercard fight.
Getting close to the
We're getting close to the fight. So like money is going to start moving in now.
Yeah.
So like last night, actually, a day or two ago, it was still like even money. I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to go in here. And I said this.
Is that wrong?
I said this line was gonna move, and it fucking didn't move. But now it's starting to move up, and because people are starting to care closer to the fight. So we have Bruno Ferreira, and there's a couple of things that we're gonna use here to make this pick. One, a lot of this is more about Phil Hawes than it is about Bruno Ferreira.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Hawes, 3 out of his last 4 fights, he's been knocked out.
Yeah.
He's like 34, 35 years old. He came off a major knee injury in his fight against Roman Dolidze. So for someone who's made their career off athleticism and being the bigger, stronger guy in the ring, the faster guy in the ring, he's losing a lot of that now. He's also losing his chin. His striking defense percentages are below average in the league. And he's going to have to fight Bruno Ferreira, who's an absolute knockout artist.
Yeah.
Like, this guy puts people out.
Yeah.
I'm talking about left hook, leaning back.
Yeah.
I'm talking about this guy has power in his hands where it doesn't even look like he's putting you out, and all of a sudden the fight's over.
Those are dangerous ones, yeah.
Super compact. He did get knocked out in his last fight. I won't call it fluky, but he got caught, right? He got a leg caught, straight down the pipe, put him out. But in general, he's been a pretty durable guy. He knocked out Gregory Rodriguez, who was a huge favorite in that fight. So I'm looking at the power of Bruno Ferreira in the first round versus Phil Hawes, who has not been defending well at all. And I'm saying this is going to be a finish. This is likely going to be a Bruno Ferreira knockout. Now, at the time we're recording this, we don't have the lines on the
knockout?
For the knockout. It's not out yet, but I'm assuming that there's probably value on that too. If he's still minus 140, if it's in the 200s, I would say that's a great bet.
Yeah.
For Bruno Ferreira knockout. Like, Phil Hawes is not durable anymore.
Right.
I think this is going to be a finish. I think you could play the under here, the under 1.5, but I would go Bruno Ferreira money line. If it gets juiced to like minus 180 by the time you're seeing this video, I would look at the knockout prop on this one. Yeah. He's not durable anymore, Jeff.
Yeah, well, those injuries, I think we talked about it the last time you brought it up, those leg injuries and fighting MMA, man, it's just brutal.
Yeah.
Come back from
it. And he'll try to wrestle a little bit, maybe, in the beginning, but you're going to see like this. Like, he's going to get hit, and you're going to see him reach for the tie clinch. So I'm playing it out. We need a green screen for this one. But, he's going to be going for that lazy tie clinch, and he's going to be getting crushed.
Yeah.
And if that does happen, we got to
clip it.
We got to clip it. We got to clip it
as it's happening.
We got to clip it as it's happening, because not only are we giving you the breakdowns and the stats, I'm giving you the exact fight flow and what's going to happen in the ring. But that's how I think that one goes. I think that's a clear best bet this weekend. When we saw it, we were like, I have no idea how this is even money.
Yeah.
Like, Bruno's going to crush this
even
guy.
at minus 140. I mean, this is a money line sport.
Right.
So you're going to have money line sports is not about it's so different.
Yeah.
Than the point spreads. Because I'll preach all the time about
get even money.
Yeah, or if an NFL line moves 2.5 to 4, just lay off instead of But these are money lines. You just gotta you gotta eat it sometimes.
And they don't go even money on the round totals and the over unders on these either, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like you're not even sometimes you can't even get value doing those. They're juiced, right?
UFC totals are minus 130, minus 150. Yeah, you see that all the time. Yeah.
So I would definitely go Bruno Ferreira here. I think
let's go.
This is an easy one. Also, you can clip this an easy one if he gets.
We're gonna clip it when it happens.
Yeah,
baby.
Yeah. The next one is a big dog, and I have a system for this one.
Oh.
So, I'll give you the stats first.
No, I love systems.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I'm gonna give you the stats first, and then we'll talk about the fighter that matches the stats.
Cool.
So, if I told you that in rematches, fighters who won the first fight win 69% of the time. You'd say that
in the rematch.
In the rematch.
That's a lot.
Okay, so that's a lot. That's a pretty good system, right?
That's pretty good.
Right? And then what if I told you?
But then I would say to you, they're probably minus 250, minus 300.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Now what if I told you that if the underdogs if the fighter won the first match but is an underdog in the rematch,
okay,
won 60% of the time, they're 18-12 in their last 30 fights.
Oh, that's pretty. As a dog.
As a dog.
60%.
$100 bettors making over $1,200 on that if you just bet it straight up. Okay?
Okay.
You like this?
I love
You
this.
like this so far?
I love this.
Okay, now what if I told you there's a fighter that meets that criteria that's plus 205 on the money line in this fight?
Oh, okay. We gotta go get the hammer out. We gotta get the hammer out. No, we don't have one.
Okay. That is Mateusz Nicolau.
Plus 205
Mateusz Nicolau right now is plus 205 against Manel Kape.
and 260+% systems basically on.
Right.
That's pretty good.
On him.
That's solid.
He won the first fight. They're both great kickboxers, right? Mateusz has good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Manel Kape has some decent wrestling that we really haven't seen in the UFC yet. But what won the first fight is Mateusz Nicolau throws volume.
Okay.
Manel Kape does not. He's trying to set traps and knock you out, right? So he's not a volume striker. We bet against him with a late replacement debut.
Yeah, that's right.
From I think it's Dos Santos. I don't have
Kape is the guy with the sweaty feet, right?
Yeah, he's sweaty feet.
That's how I remember him.
So Manel Kape has sweaty feet. He always wore shoes when he was over in Ryzen, and he actually had problems during his debuts because he kept slipping because his feet were sweating.
I think I remember one time it was like you and Justin and we were talking about it or something, and
When we bet,
the conversation was like, well, I think he's gonna tape his feet this fight. He might not slip anymore.
so we had Mateusz Nicolau in the first fight. We also had Pantoja versus him in the debut, where Pantoja was like plus 200, and one of our angles was he has sweaty feet.
There you go.
And you could see that he had problems gripping the mat in that fight and standing and throwing.
Yeah.
Because, you try.
Listen, sweaty feet, dude.
You try fighting with sweaty feet.
In the
probably horrifying. It's like a dream fight,
right? Where you can't move. Yeah, exactly. He's slipping. That's literally what that is.
Yeah.
In the college basketball video I just posted the other day, I said as cappers we spent all day looking for any edge. I literally mean any edge. Sweaty feet.
Sweaty feet.
Whatever it takes, man.
Sweaty feet was an angle. He actually went to a doctor and he's solved this problem with his sweaty feet.
Okay.
So that angle's gone.
Ah, man.
But
it doesn't last forever.
Yeah, it doesn't last forever. He fixed it. But he I think the volume is going to be the difference. Mateusz Nicolau throws volume. Manel Kape does not. So if this fight doesn't get a finish, generally the volume striker is going to win that decision.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I hear volume, I think decision.
Yeah, he's landing more. He's throwing more. He looks like the more active fighter in there. And unless there's some really big moments where Manel Kape is hurting him often and putting damage, because remember, I'm preaching volume here, but the number one scoring criteria in the UFC is damage.
For sure.
So if you knock a guy down, if you make a guy bleed, you're likely going to win that round. So it's damage, like effective striking, effective grappling, control time, ring aggression. Like it sort of goes in that order, right? Yeah. So he still could put the damage, but I think this is like a classic, like somebody's being overhyped, somebody's being underhyped. Manel Kape beat a couple cans. He's looking to fight Kai Kara France. There's like a big, there's like big beef that's going on online that's sort of hyping it up. So there's a lot of that. Mateusz Nicolau got knocked out by Brandon Royval with a really well-timed knee in his last fight. But if he won that, he's fighting for the champion. He's fighting Pantoja for the championship, right? So at plus 205,
I love that. At 205, and it's the rematch angle.
Rematch angle. You got a guy that was one fight away from being a champion. Already beat Manel Kape. I think there's just value here,
that's
right?
A great pick.
So let's go the 205 on the money line there. Outside the distance, I haven't seen the prop on it yet, so like there's something there probably as well. These guys know each other well. It was a pretty close fight the last time.
By the way, that note you made about damage, like for people watching, like whenever you have, we've had a bunch of these. Everyone's had these. You have a fight where you like your guy seems like he's dominating the fight. Yeah. And then but the other guy, he's throwing the hits, he's landing, but he maybe has a little, like a cut, and the other guy doesn't. Yeah. And then it feels like a bad beat. It's because of that aspect of damage being so important.
Call it the Josh Emmett effect.
Yeah.
Josh Emmett effect. If you ever want to see the clearest example You want to do your own research a little bit. Watch Josh Emmett versus Calvin Kattar.
Okay.
In that fight, we had Calvin Kattar.
Right.
Calvin Kattar jabbed Josh Emmett into oblivion the entire fight. Actually bloodied Josh Emmett up quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But Josh Emmett throws these big overhand strikes, and they're bouncing off the guard on Calvin Kattar, and they're not hurting him, but they're knocking him back. Mm. And they gave that fight to Josh Emmett.
Right.
Because
it looks like he's wobbling him like
he looks like he's doing the more damaging strikes.
Right.
And anybody who knows fighting was like, wow, that was the dumbest fucking decision ever. Yeah. But like he still won. So I call it the Josh Emmett.
What do you think about that? Like a lot of people think that the way the UFC judges work is kind of problematic. I mean, do you ever see them changing the structure? I think it's just I don't see how you can change it.
They're not going to change the structure because they get what they want out of it.
Yeah, they're not going to change it.
We're getting killed. They're not getting killed. They're getting exactly who they want. Yeah. We call it like, oh, the truck is in, like the production truck. It's almost like, right. You know, like you can like listen to UFC fights, and now we're gonna get blackballed for this one.
We're gonna put on tinfoil hats for a second.
Listen to these UFC broadcasts. Mm-hmm. You can see. Like you can hear.
This is so true, by the way. I've noticed this too.
When the production truck has the announcer switch the narrative, you can have a guy being like pummeled on the floor, and if they need the other guy to win, they'll be like, "Wow, really good defense on the ground."
Oh, they'll show the one he did well on the round. He's all bloodied up in the corner.
When we break down fights, we turn the volume off. We don't.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
We don't watch fights.
That's a good trick.
We don't watch fights with the commentating on.
That's right.
Because
they skew your opinion. Yes, they
skew
do,
your opinion, and it just so happens that in the Vegas arena they put the commentators right next to the judges.
Interesting.
So they're like within earshot of the judges.
Hear it.
The judges hear it. Right?
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
So like all of these things, you can sort of see how this for live betting, like. Start listening to these things when it starts switching up and you're like, hold on, what I'm watching doesn't match what they're saying.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Then you know that something's going on in the production truck. They're like, hey, listen.
I'm telling you, now that you've heard this, you're gonna see it all the time.
Yeah,
you're gonna realize this all the time.
Third round, they're gonna be like, listen. Start talking about how good this guy's doing.
We need to swing this.
Daniel Cormier is like, listen, not for nothing.
Yeah. It's crazy. But all right, so
Manel Cobb has landed some damaging strikes in the first 2 rounds, and it'll be like 60-20 striking, and they'd be like, I don't know who won those.
His eyes like swollen shut.
I don't know who won those. Anybody could have won those rounds. What do you mean anybody could have won those rounds?
Yeah, you could give that. I could go either way.
I'm sitting down on my couch like, what do you mean? What do you mean anyone could have won those rounds?
Dude, we've seen this. Once you guys pointed it out to me, I've seen that so many times. Even when I'm watching alone, we're not chatting. I see it all the time where they like they have a certain angle they want to push.
Yeah.
And they start pushing it. Totally, I see it all the time.
You know?
It's crazy.
It's like if you and I like came in with like a set of things that we want to talk about,
right?
And then what's happening on like live isn't happening. We're like, shit, we got to talk. We got to
change
anyway.
it.
Yeah. So
exactly right.
So we're doing Mateusz Nicolau.
I like those picks.
Plus 205 on the rematch angle, and then we're doing Bruno Ferreira money line, maybe the KO prop, depending on what that line looks like when it comes out, either later today or tomorrow. But one of those will likely be in the card. So
yes, sir. And my best bet for wild card was the under Philly Bucks under 45. So that's 3 picks for you guys for this weekend for this Pods episode. And by the way, we have other content up on YouTube. I have a video of my top 3 wild card trends and systems. Go watch that. I got a video giving you my leans on every wildcard game, so you can go watch that as well. Those are up on TikTok and Instagram too now, so there's a bunch of content out there. And we still have more coming. We got the refs. We got another. One of my there's 2 games this week that fits a system that I love. And I talked about it in that wildcard trend system, but I know some people just watch the pod. So teams that are hosting a playoff game this year that didn't make the playoffs last year. There's 2 teams. And those teams are 31% against the spread.
Don't tell them.
Over the last 20 years.
Watch the video.
Go figure out who the 2 teams are.
Watch the video.
They're hosting a playoff game, and they did not make the playoffs last season. You can probably think of them, but one of them's obvious. One of them's maybe might have to do some digging. But yeah. So that's that. All right. Do you have anything else or no? We're skipping. I'm not doing listen, we used to do the pocket change parlays. We'll still do them for other stuff, but playoffs, just straight bet. Straight bet the playoffs.
Yep.
this is not the week. This is different than having like a 16 game slate. Don't do any parlays for the playoffs.
Yeah.
So just straight bet them.
And my
edges.
pocket parlay, I've been asked, so I'm not gonna do it. So that's
Eventually, one's gonna hit,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be glorious.
I'm not doing them.
I'm just giving up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool guys. Thanks for watching. We'll be back at it next week.
See ya.
Love you guys. Peace.